Hello and welcome to this video, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the Wave CLA-76 in its Blackie mode to the T-RackS Black 76, which is their 1176 model. To start, just to make sure it was a completely fair comparison, I put white noise through them, made sure I was pushing the same level into them, making sure I was getting the same level out of them, and that is just to make sure that the whole thing's completely fair. And as I change the knobs on them, I wasn't getting massive level discrepancies, because that can really alter the way that you sometimes if you hear something louder, it can sound better just because it's a bit louder, and I didn't want to get into any of that with the comparison. So I've got two sets of comparisons. The first one is vocals and the second one is drums. And what you hear in each comparison, I'm not talking over it or do anything like that. You hear the vocals being split up. There's a bit of a verse and a bit of a chorus. And the first bit of the verse is on one compressor, the second bit of the verse is on another compressor. And then you get the same thing again, but with the music. So you hear the vocal in the context of the mix as well. And I've got 6 different comparisons with 6 different settings on the compressors. That information will be at the bottom of the screen, so it will tell you all the settings on the compressors that I've used to compare. Obviously I could do 20, 30 different sets of settings, but I went with 6 on the vocals and 6 on the drums. I go through all of the ratio settings and then I pick one of my favourite ratio settings and do something different with the attack and release on that one. So yeah, there's 6 of those and then 6 on the drums as well. So I've got 6 drum comparisons. Again, starts out with just the drums with one compressor and then just the drums with the other, and works its way through this is actually a bridge and a chorus of a song. And then you hear the drums in the mix. At some point, obviously, it gets absolutely ridiculous. I'm driving the compressor. I've just got everything turned up and they're, in a way that I would never use them in a mix. But still, it's interesting to hear how they distort and how different they are. And then right at the end, I just try and see how many instances of each of these plugins will actually load on my system. And I go through a whole test, which I'll talk about once we've gone through all the comparisons. The whole thing's indexed in the description. So if you want to jump to any point, you can jump to the index points of all the comparisons. And and each comparison might be a minute or two each. So, you might have had enough of one and want to skip to something where there's a higher ratio or a different sort of attack and release, or, it's driving it in a different way. So, I'm not expecting people to sit and watch through what will be half an hour of just hearing the same loop over and over again through 2 different compressors. So skip around and then at the end I'll do this kind of plugin load comparison as well, which is really interesting. That's probably the most interesting and for me the most crucial bit of the video. But for now, here are the vocal comparisons.
I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying trying. You found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need. I'm sick of trying to be near you when all around me says I'm wrong. There's no denying you found another, so I'll keep trying to hold on. There's another hold on my life. I just can't seem to get things right. I'm taking most of what I need. What I need.
So now onto the drums. With the drums, I've got a stereo file of drum kit that I'd already mixed, but I hadn't done any kind of bus treatment or bus compression on it. So in this comparison, I'm using the 1176 as a drum bus compressor, and I've got the two different ones in the same way with the vocals. We're going to go through 6 examples with 6 different settings. You can skip around, and then after that, we're going to do the plug-in load comparison. Now, on to what I consider the most interesting bit of the video, the plugin load comparison. So for this, I basically put 8 instances of, let's start with the Waves one. So I got the Waves plugin and I put 8 instances of the Waves 1176 plugin on, and then I duplicated that channel, so it would be to 16, and then I duplicated them, so, you know, we'd have 32, and then I duplicate them again, we'd have 64, and we keep doubling the number. And basically, I was just keeping on, you know, adding more and more of these tracks, running 8 instances of the compressor until my computer just fell over. And it fell over in some really interesting ways. With the Waves plugin, I just went way too far and I made 80, 90 odd tracks with the Waves plugin on 8 times. So you're looking, I think at one point, I was looking at 640 or 700 odd instances of the plugin. And it didn't say it had crashed, but it was, I was moving the mouse around and it was getting a bit juddery, and I would have an error message come up that was sort of garbled and didn't make a lot of sense. So with the Waves plugin, I managed to get it up to 43 tracks. That left me with I think 344 instances of the Waves plugin, which I thought was really good. I was running it on maximum latency. My computer has a Ryzen processor that's 3.6. I don't overclock it, so I'm running at 3.6 gigahertz. It's got 8 cores. I've got 32 gigs of RAM, which is, you know, pretty high speed. I think it's 2600. I can't remember. But anyway, the computer's pretty good, and I was running it on maximum latency, and yeah, I got up to 344 instances, which I'm more than happy with. You know, if I was running out of processing power, I could always freeze channels. You know, it's not a big deal. Now with the T-RackS one, I ran into some more problems than that. I had 8 instances on one channel, and then I duplicated the track and duplicated the track and kept going. And realistically, my computer sound started dropping out around about the 3rd track. So I was running 24 instances of the plugin, and it was weird the way it dropped out, because Cubase sort of looked like it was carrying on fine, but there was just no audio output. So then I'd shut Cubase and reopen it with the same number of plugins, and it seemed to work, it seemed to play. But then I noticed the OBS that I was using to record it, which is, you know, theoretically the same load on both of them. So although it's taking some of the processing power away, I mean, we're talking, you know, maybe 1 or 2% of the processor. And it should have taken it out equally across both the Waves and the T-RackS plugins. But with the T-RackS plugins, it was just cutting OBS. OBS was losing connection to sound, and something was crashing there. So I'd have to go in and reboot OBS if I was playing that wouldn't seem to work. So it was causing loads of problems. And what I found I had to do was duplicate a track with the 8 plugins and maybe do that a couple more times, and then save the project, and then close the project, and then reopen it fresh, and it would load all those plugins, and then it would play. But if I tried to duplicate the track a couple of times, it then would crash or not play, or I'd lose the sound in Cubase and OBS, and then I'd have to restart the whole of Cubase, and at a couple of points I had to restart my whole computer just to get it to work. And in the end, I actually managed to get it to 25 tracks of 8, and it would play and be stable if I opened a fresh session that had all the tracks there with 8 plugins on each track. I managed to get 25 tracks running 8 plugins, which the maths says that's 200 instances of the plugin, and it did run stable, but not so stable that I felt confident. The way I was having to open it and the way I was having to shut things down, it really just didn't feel stable at all. So I was worried that maybe this isn't a T-RackS thing, so I went into Reaper very quickly. I didn't actually record this, and I will at another point do this comparison with Reaper, but I opened up Reaper because that's notoriously lightweight on the CPU, and I thought, I wonder how many of these plugins I could load into here. And even with Reaper, once I was getting past, I mean, it managed a lot more without crashing, but once I got past maybe the sort of like the 100 instance mark, Reaper was, it was juddering across the screen. It was being really, really weird. So with regards to that, I just didn't trust it as much. I'm a software guy as well. I write software myself, and it just didn't feel like it was as stable. Whereas the Waves one, even when I'd put far too many on and it was crashing and producing weird error messages, I just save the project, reopen it, delete some stuff, and then it all went back to being perfectly stable again. With the T-RackS one, I was restarting my computer, I was loading things, loading the arrangement, adding more stuff, having to close it and reopen it. It was just a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. So that disappointed me. So my conclusion on the whole thing, sound-wise, I don't think on the lower compression settings, I don't think there's much difference in them at all. So if you're using sort of like 4:1 ratio and you're not, you're doing maybe 3 to 5 dB of gain reduction, I didn't hear enough difference in them that I would say I had a preference. Okay. Once you start pushing it more, they both have characteristics that are both nice and not so nice depending on your application. But I've got a feeling that where they differ is in how they respond with the attack and the release times, and how much compression is truly going on when you, say, put 20:1 in on the T-RackS 1 version, 21:1 ratio on the Waves version. I'm not 100% convinced that 20:1 is strictly a 20:1. Now, obviously, these things have been modelled on analog bits of gear, and these analog bits of gear will be different because there'll be two completely different analog bits of gear. So probably what we're hearing is some of the discrepancy in that more than I wouldn't expect them to be mathematically perfect with a 20, you put this signal in at so dB and you set the threshold there and you put a 20:1 compression ratio in, and I'm not expecting it to be mathematically accurate because these were, vintage analog pieces of gear that they were modelling. But I was surprised by how vastly different it seemed that at certain points, their compression ratios were just wildly out. One was significantly, one was producing wildly more output than the other one. And the other one was distorting more. The T-RackS one distorted in some beautiful ways. Sonically, it distorted in some beautiful ways. And then in other ways, just was not compressing in the kind of the nice tight way that I wanted it to. Whereas the Waves one seemed to be consistently compressing really nicely and not producing any crunchiness when I didn't want it. But then when I want it to drive, it doesn't drive quite as nicely as the T-RackS one. I don't want to give too much about my opinion on the sound of these because I want you to decide for a start. You can listen through. You can also download the samples there in the description and make your own mind up. But I really don't think that in this case the sound is the deciding factor. I think that I could get what I wanted out of either of these plugins. I think that if I was mixing entirely with the T-RackS one or mixing entirely with the Waves one and using that as my kind of 1176 plugin, I think I could do a good job with either of them. The differences between them are just down to personal preferences. Both of them sound good. The biggest reason that I would actually pick the Waves one over the T-RackS one is the number of instances that I can run, and even if there is some bug in Cubase and it's not entirely T-RackS fault, Multimedia's fault, still in Reaper it seemed like it was slower. When you click on a plugin to actually load it, the loading time, it can take 2, 3, 4 seconds for the plugin to load and show its UI, whereas the Waves one, it's instant. And if you're going through and having to put loads of plugins on and copying it over to, say, 10 different backing vocal tracks, and you're just trying to put them on, you don't want every time you copy the plugin over, it just sits there and seizes for a while. So I just don't trust it as much. I'll be honest with you, I just don't trust it as much from a software point of view. It crashed and it was slow. And then you look at the price range on them, and the last I looked, the Waves one was $20-something. I was looking in pounds, but we'll do it in dollars. whereas the T-RackS plugin was somewhere near $150. So am I getting what will be somewhere between 7 and 8 times the quality from the T-RackS plugin? Absolutely not. The Waves one is really easy to use. It also has the bluey mode as well as the blacky mode, so you're getting sort of 2 different vintage compressors in one. The sound of it is not any worse or any better than the T-RackS one. I could use it and do all of my mixing with it and it would be perfectly valid. And I can run so many more instances of it. I can run almost double the instances of it without having any kind of crashing problems. Whereas to get the IK T-RackS one to 200 instances, really takes a lot of patience closing down, opening up. So yeah, I just would go with the Waves one. I would go with the Waves one. Now, I am not trying to put down IK Multimedia in this one. I'm going to do another video where I'm comparing their LA2A models. So I really don't want to put down IK Multimedia on this because I really love a lot of their products. Amplitude is by far the best guitar amp simulator that I've ever used. Their Hammond plugin is by far the best Hammond plugin I've ever used. Modo Drum is amazing. I'm not going to say it's better or worse than some others that I've used, but it is stunning. The Modo Bass is absolutely stunning, amazing. So IK Multimedia makes some amazing plugins. The Philharmonic, the Sample Tank. I was trying to mix together Sample Tank and Amplitude there and coming out with Sample Tube, but you get what I mean. It's like their products there are phenomenal. Their Sunset Sound Studio Reverb is absolutely phenomenal. It sounds brilliant. Some of their saturation plugins, which I'm going to be using in later videos and kind of doing some comparisons with, are absolutely stunning. So at no point am I saying that IK are bad or they make bad plugins. I just found with this particular plugin, in a comparison to the equivalent within the Waves range for the money and for the reliability and for the sound not enough between them, but for the other factors, the Waves one just beats it hands down. So that's my verdict. Leave a comment if you agree or disagree or whatever. Like the video, share it. And if you're from IK Multimedia, don't hate me. And if you're from Waves, don't get me wrong. There's loads of problems with your products too. And I'm just happy to be able to go through them and show them in the way that I do. And someone else might come back to me and say, you're doing this wrong. That's not a fair test. If you did it like this, it would be better. Or if you change that. I'm no perfect scientist in the area, and 6 comparisons on vocals and drums. I could put guitars through, I could put bass through them. I'm fully aware of the limitations of this whole thing. So, it's just something for you to listen to and make a decision. And, there's a million other voices out there, all of which will have their own opinions on what they think. So go and watch them as well. Leave us a comment. Please share if you like it. Thanks for watching.